All right, so I think it's time to talk about a deck that's fallen under the radar. It came out at the tail end of BCS 2026. It is called Fairy Tale, and I think this is a really good deck going into the next format, especially with the two big threats coming out. At least the community considers the threats, Uma Musume and ReZero. I think Fairy Tale does really well against those sets. It excels at destroying sets such as that. But take a look at it. Fairy Tale is a deck that gathers at least 3 cards in memory so that its finisher can go off. And this finisher does really good at pushing damage. And if your opponent somehow survives, they cannot deal auto damage through battle with this card, which means that they have to deal damage before the battle step, or they would have to side if they have like an on attack burn or a on at the end of the attack burn type of thing. So let's get into talking about this set. Okay, so before we start talking about the level zeros, I want to bring apart this event here. This event is a 1-1 event. It can grab any character from your waiting room that's traded, and if you reveal a top card deck or 2 or higher, it is going to go to stock. Note that it is a forced go to stock, so you do not have a say on whether you want to put it there or not. This is one of the best cards in the set to allow you to keep repeating your combo, getting the key cards, as selection in this set is pretty good with this in it. Now, talking about that, let's talk about how we progress through level 0. So at level 0, you want one of 2 cards in your starting hand. You want this level 0 Urza or this level 0 Lucy. And we run 4 of each because we want to see one of these 2 cards, and you got to see them turn 0 because of their effects. Urza, 2 or less cards in memory. When it gets reversed, it goes to memory. And then it gets 1 level in 15 when you have 5 more cards in hand. When do you have 5 more cards in hand? At the beginning of the game. So this means that going first, this is an excellent card to put down. And then you can sometimes increase his power with this Brainstorm that gives 500 off turn. So it's 35 level 1. That's why we also run for this, so we don't have to look for it. So this allows a good start to where if this survives, you get an extra attacker. If it dies, you get the free memory. You're going to notice this deck costs a lot of stock to do a lot of its abilities. Even though its finisher is very stock efficient, you're wasting an entire turn of stock a lot of times, like 3 stock, to get your memory. So this is to help alleviate that memory cost because your Natsu needs 3 cards with different name and memory. This Lucy, on play, you mill 2, and it's just a big fat beat stick. Right, it goes up to 5k if you mill any characters or events, this particular event. And when it gets reversed, you can clock the top card of your deck. This goes to memory, and you can check up the top 2 and add up to 2 characters or this event. So it means the only misses are these 2. And I would like to reiterate, we run 4 and 4. This is just, to me, very good deck building type of utility where like you must see one of these in the very beginning to have a smooth progression in the game. Otherwise, you're going to have to like do some jank stuff where you like crash this in mid game and they don't really offer values. You might not want to be like messing with your deck, you know, level 2 onwards. So you want to just get one of them down, a costless one or a costed one in the very beginning of the game while you're 0, where you can afford to take damage and slowly gather your resources progressing forward. This level 0 here is just what I like to call a consistency engine. It has a very basic effect. This is very sad that I didn't give it a second effect, but it's just ditch a card, reveal top, and salvage it to level. This helps you get your level 0s. This also helps you filter your hand. You're going to notice that this deck does not have a lot of like on-demand filter, and I added this to help with that. This is a on reverse, pay 1, ditch 1, search your deck for a character, and this goes to memory. This is another condition, but notice, this one has no 2 or less memory condition like the other 2. So this means that you can crash this at any point, and it's not detrimental because it's a search. It also gives 2k to any character on attack. What does this mean? It can give it to itself to go 25 to reverse little zeros on your opponent's turn, or on your opponent's side of the field on your turn, or you can give it to the back row or somewhere else if you want to crash this in and make it 500 power. So this helps you find your cards early on. We run 3 because it's not as necessary, but you can like bump this down to 3 and put this to 4 if you like this one better, and that way you only need one of these out of the 7 to go to memory, but that's up to you. That's interchangeable, but I must reiterate that you must run at least in total between these two or less memory cards, 6. I would say 6 is a good number till we draw one of them. I'm just maxing out to 8, so we have max consistency. So this deck does not need a lot of things to go right for it to operate. That's one of its strong points. This Ignia is one of my specialty cards. I love this card so much. It's also another on-demand filter, but pay 2 and you can target a climax in your waiting room and search your deck for a climax of the same name. Why pay 2 to check top 5? Why do all this fancy stuff to try to find a climax? Let's just get it done and over with. Your level 3 combo heals. It does not pick up cards, which means you're finding your level 3 climax is a little bit tricky sometimes unless you hoard it in your hand. So this Ignia helps you prep it out. Or if you somehow don't have the treasure for your level 1 combo, the Ignia just lets you get your climax right away. He's just an extra card. He's definitely cuttable, but I like him a lot because he's a 0 attacker and he also has that ability to find climaxes. This Natsu here, this is also a really cool card. You can gain an extra stock from it, right? On attack, lock top card deck, and trigger check twice. So this deck costs a lot of stock pre-level 3, even though the level 3 finisher isn't, that stock heavy. It doesn't cost any stock, actually. This is to help you play out through the game to trade a damage for an extra stock. It also trigger checks twice, which means you run 8 plusing triggers, treasure, and comeback. So this helps a lot to either get another climax to your hand or extend more cards into your hand through the comeback icon. This is a climax swapper. Sometimes it might plus you, depending on how weak the opponent's cards are. It can move to the center. So just be mindful. You want to make sure you make the best of your plays. So if you're crashing in one of these cards, if you can, crash it through the center. So this moves around in case your opponent has a on reverse effect. This is your standard Brainstorm. This is probably one of the most disappointing double Rs in the set. It's just a standard salvage Brainstorm. Grabs cards from characters from Waiting Room. But in this set particularly, it's going to be really cool when we tell you about combos going forward. Global 5 off turn does help a lot with this Urza 35, but let me tell you where it does help completely. If you notice, this, look at this card, 500 power, 500 power. So this helps your 500 power cards survive against those weird Shell tier Brainstorm from Overlord, minus 500, right? So this does help some of your level 0s stay active cross turn, so it doesn't get wrecked by a neg 500. For those of you who do not know this, when a power on a card hits 0, that card gets sent to Waiting Room. So if I minus 500 this, it just goes to Waiting Room, unless you want to pay 3 and encore it. So you probably don't want to do that, so that's why this Brainstorm is there. And like we reiterated, at 4, this means you don't have to look for it, and in a higher chance of seeing this and this in your hand in the beginning after Mulligan. This is a pay 1, send it to memory, check top 4 for a 1 or higher, so it can pick up this event, and you know that by the deck, we have a lot of 1 or higher. The other thing is sometimes it ruins a standby deck. It prevents standby cards from standing. So for example, if the opponent plays standby at 0, you have this in your hand. They summon a level 1 card and put it in the back row. Then you play this the next turn, they cannot stand that card back up. So if you know you're against Nino, or you know you're against Nikke, what you can do as a starting turn is attack with this first. So when they reverse it, if they do decide to play standby, you can then search this out directly and stun their card, buying you 1 extra turn so they can't make use of the card they put into the back row. Other than that, it moves to the deck, and we've already talked about this. It's your event. So let's start talking about the level 1s. This is what they like to refer to as a rest counter. You do notice that there's 1. You only get this card if you really need it, right? It costs 4 stock, and you got to ditch a climax. So this means that for you to actively use it, and have it be useful during your finishing turn, you need 7 stock. If you play 3 of these Natsus, they don't cost stock. That leaves you with 1 stock. You attack 3 times, you go to 4. And you, like, if you triggered a treasure or something, now you threaten rest counter. And sometimes if you're doing really, really well throughout the game and you have like an abundance of stock or you need to pay out a bunch of climaxes, this can be useful like between levels 1 and 3 to do so. But the problem is playing this beforehand means you lose 2 Natsus, right? 4 stock is 2 Natsus. So you lose 2 finishers just to play this beforehand. So it's mainly there to deal with sets where you know you cannot survive their finishing turn. And you know that this is very useful to helping you do that. Because if they do try to counter this Natsu's anti-burn effect, then you might need this to help save yourself. So I run 1 of it just because you're not going to play it every game. And the games that you do need it, just search it out, salvage it, do whatever you need, just get it quickly. This deck has no issue paying out stock because everything is cost in this deck. So paying it out of stock is not a problem. Level 1 combo, this is probably one of the best level 1 mill combos you've seen in the game so far because it can pick up events. You know, check top 4, add 1 character or event, which means it can pick up this. And one of the really cool plays is picking it up means after your opponent reverses this card, you don't need to rely on a brainstorm to get your card back. You can just play the 1/1 event and you have your card back again to do the combo once more. When it fights level 2s, it gets an extra 6k. Now note that the memory condition is only tied to the power, so if you somehow have no memory, you still have a climax combo active. It is 8k, which is very strong, or I should say it's 7k with Tauta Climax. So it is running over any level 1, and then it's also running almost every level 3. Like against Slime's Muron, this is really strong. So I think it fits the deck really well. Treasures help you loop climaxes to keep slam jamming damage to your opponent while reversing your cards. I must reiterate, it's very important to reverse your opponent's cards when you play decks like this so that they have to waste resources in finding those cards. We're going to skip over to this guy first. This is my tech for the upcoming meta. He is a level down in ditch a card, so you can ditch climaxes. This helps against decks like Nikke. This helps against decks like, Eminence of Shadow just got an early play that can neg 2 soul. This helps you get rid of threats that you wouldn't be able to deal with. As you note, that Fairy Tail does not have a strong level 2 game. It has a good 0, 1, and 3 game. So level 2 is its weakest points. In the decks where they're strong at level 2, that's where you would have trouble with against them. So the level down is there to counter decks, right? Like Hololive's neg soul Sora or Sao's neg 2 soul Yuna, right? Like, these cards hurt you because you either want to send your opponent to level 3 really quickly while you're low level 2, or if you're trying to play even with your opponent, you're behind, this helps you slow them down. It buys you a turn so that you can get into a good position because a lot of, like, high-level cards will become threatening. Also, against decks like Nikke, the Modernia needs to be on the field for the rest counter to use its rest ability, the 3/0 rest counter. You can make them pay 3 stock with this, right? If they want to pay 3 stock, you got it. If they don't pay 3 stock, you don't have to worry about the rest counter. Same thing with Shotgun Nishana's anti-burn, right? You're just trying to make them waste resources so their finishing turn is weaker as you already kind of hurt their finishing turn with your finisher. Now let's talk about this. This card is probably the most disgusting card I've seen in Weiss. This is a costless on play, you both deal damage to each other. It can be canceled, but notice that because it's costless, right? Like other sets when you're playing early plays that burn 1 and stuff like that, this is just like, I'm just going to play it and burn you. Why is this good? Well, back in the day, when this set came out in 2015, we did not have the utility cards to gain resources really quickly or find cards easily back then. So you could not have abused this card that easily. In the current state of the game with, tap self brainstorms, clock pluses, all these things, you're able to just loop these cards so easily. So this helps you extend your finishing turn. An extra damage, right? And let's look at this, right? Natsu is ditch a card on attack if you meet the conditions of the memory and the 3 or more characters, or 2 or more other characters. that are traded, you're able to deal 2 damage and then take a card from the waiting and put on top of that. What does this mean? Your vanilla attack for 3 has a high chance of sticking because you're reducing that to 2 because you put a guaranteed, and then if there's 2 more damage on top, you stick it. So Natsu is very good at sticking 5 damage, or if they cancel the 2, very good at sticking 3 damage. This is an incredibly powerful finisher for what it does. And then if it heals on play, and if your opponent is somehow not dead, you stop their burns. If they try to front you, or or like they have like where it's right after the end of the attack, that still counts as battle to some degree, I believe. So like something like Nino will not get around this Natsu, as far as I know. A judge can correct me, but I'm pretty sure Nino does not get around this card. So talking about that, you have these weird plays that you can do, right? You run a salvage brainstorm. You have a lot of cards that pick up level 1s or pick up cards from waiting room. So if you only have like a limited amount of stock, like you don't have 6 stock, or you don't have the right hand, right? Because you need Natsu needs to ditch characters. You have a bunch of climaxes. You can like mash like there are times where like I double brainstormed just to get more of these, and then I play like 2 Natsus and I play 3 of these. Right? That's why I run 3 of them, because they're so strong. The other thing is it can help you unstuck your level, right? So instead of running what they like to call Ricky, but pay 1 clock self, search your deck for 1 or lower, why spend a stock when I can then deal damage to me and my opponent, level myself up, and then deal damage again, right? You can just keep spamming it. In some cases, if you are like really good, you can play 1 of these, right? Like, because your goal is 7 stock, right? That's your goal, right? That lets you get 3 Natsus and a rest counter. So as long as you don't draw a climax off the clock, if you're at full hand size, you can clock, draw 2, brainstorm once, then play like 2 of these, and then slam down 3 Natsus, and there it is, right? So that's a bunch of like Natsus. 3 Natsus are already 6 instants of damage. Just add 7, 8, 9, whatever you want to it. So it's like kind of like you're turning your finisher into a variable finisher. And a lot of times, let's say you have 3 stock, right? You can go, pay 2, play Natsu, brainstorm. If you happen to hit more than 1 climax, look at that. You can get a bunch of these. That's a burn 2, burn 1, and then swing 3 times. Still kind of serviceable. So this allows you to finish from a lot of points in the game. Also, if you're winning against decks like Overlord, like you're 2-1, 2-0, and Overlord's like 2-5, 2-6, you can take, deal damage to yourself to push them to level 3. So that is the power of this card. The more extra resources you have on top of your finisher, the more burns you can dish out at your opponent. So that's very strong. You could think of this as like a mini Gura, right? Burn 2, burn 1. Burn 2, burn 1. Burn 2, and then the swing, right? So that's a lot of damage. So because Fairy Tail does not have stock swap, it does have a stock shuffle. But I've found that like it's just not worth your time like coin flipping and hoping you hit something. And in a lot of games, your opponent's stock might be dirty sometimes, or not making it worth it. So precise damage helps a lot. And that's, remember when I told you that, okay, we don't want soul triggers in this deck? Because Natsu swings for 3. If you accidentally go for 4 damage, that extra damage you put on top of the deck is kind of nullified. Now you're back to swinging for 3 damage. So with 3 of these supposed to be in your hand at the finishing turn, it means there's only 1 trigger left in your deck that can ruin your chances of getting damage through your opponent. So that takes care of the deck. I'm going to talk about why this deck is very strong against the meta sets next. So talking about the upcoming set releases, a lot of people are looking at Uma Musume. It's getting a first set before trios, and it's getting a second set on the month single start. Also, there's ReZero. These finishers are pretty strong, or the decks are pretty strong. But this is why I said Fairy Tail is very good against those sets. ReZero's Rem does not heal on play. It picks up cards. Uma Musume's finishers does not heal on play. It picks up cards. And those 2 sets have trouble bouncing your cards. So if you happen to hit level 3 first, you can just send it with triple Natsu, stick so much damage on them, and now they have to like side your cards or do some weird plays to try to kill you from 3-0 while you're threatening rest counter. And because any damage you done to them sticks, it means whether you hit 3 first or a second, you're in a good position. So that is why I think it's wrong. These are the types of decks Fairy Tail are good against. 1k1 decks or decks with very weak level 2 games, right? Decks that like to build up and throw a finisher. That is where Fairy Tail excels in. And I think people really do underestimate how strong this deck is, because its utilities are at the baseline where it's acceptable for 2026, and it has some certain broken cards that help deal with a lot of decks. So that is why I think it's very good against the upcoming meta, because the upcoming meta is introducing a lot of 1k1 decks, we like to call them, right? They're not standby. They like to play the level 1 combo, gather resources, and slam their level 3 combo, and sometimes sprinkle in some heals here and there to sustain and try to push the opponent to 3 first. This is where Fairy Tail works, because Natsu doesn't care whether you get pushed to 3 first, because he is there to defend you even if the opponent fails to... even if he fails to kill the opponent. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoy this. I will try to get matches out in the future. I know that's what my channel is lacking a lot. So stay tuned to where I can record games, and I will showcase these 2 decks as well. This is the Weiss, and catch you guys on the next video.